we can now move on to component number 2 of focused hours, which is how do you actually focus for 50 minutes without getting distracted? So coming back to our focused hour formula, we've spent the first 5 minutes on plan and organize, and we are going to spend the next 50 or so minutes. It can be 25, it can be 35, it can be 48, it can be 52. I had a session earlier today when I was prepping these slides that was like 1 hour and 12 minutes. I was like, oh, sick, 1 hour and 12 minutes, nice. I generally don't go beyond 1 hour 15 minutes because I find my brain starts to hurt, but about 45 minutes, 45 to 55 seems to be the sweet spot according to most of the research. And at the start and at the end, we are going to be logging in our time tracker how much time we are spending actually focusing. More on that in a minute, that is coming up. Here's a nice quote from Harvard Business Review. Juggling, multitasking, and other forms of attention shifting are highly inefficient. Simply, the brain works much faster and more accurately when attention is focused for a stretch of time on one thing at a time. That is from Harvard Business Review. Gary Keller, the author of The One Thing, says multitasking takes a toll. At home or at work, distractions lead to poor choices, painful mistakes, and unnecessary stress. Charlie Chaplin, if you want to hear from him, simplicity of approach is always best. So, what all of this comes down to is that the secret to focus is to work on just one thing for an extended period of time. That's pretty much it. We just need to sit down, make a plan, figure out what the thing is, and actually just work on it for an extended period of time. Unfortunately, there are 4 horsemen that prevent deep focus, and we have strategies for dealing with all of them, and some book recommendations. The first horseman is the horseman of procrastination, which is the failure to get started with important tasks. The second horseman is the horseman of distraction, which is where external and internal interruptions break our flow. The third horseman is burnout, where we get mental and physical exhaustion from overexertion, depletion, or misalignment. I have loads more details about burnout in my book if you want to check it out. And the fourth horseman is perfectionism, which is the paralyzing need to make everything flawless before moving forward. That is also a real barrier to being able to make progress on anything, because we're so in our own heads and so worried that it's going to be bad that we don't actually make progress. This is what I struggled with a lot when I was writing my first book. Each of these challenges requires different strategies to overcome, but awareness is the first step to conquering them. We're going to be giving you some systems to deal with some of these, and some recommended reading. Indistractable by Nir Eyal is a very good book. I also have an interview with him on my podcast and on my YouTube channel, How to Control Your Attention and Choose Your Life. If you struggle with distraction, you should definitely read Indistractable. Deep Work, of course, by Cal Newport. Absolute cult classic, Rules for Focused Success in a Distracted World. That is also very good. And a new favorite of mine, which is Rest by Alex Sujung Kim Pang. Sorry about the blurred image. Why You Get More Work Done When You Work Less. Or Why You Get More Done When You Work Less. This is also a really, really, really good book. I think you should read all of them. And of course, you can also read my book if you would like, Feel Good Productivity, which is about a bunch of these different topics. So, how do we deal with these 4 horsemen of procrastination, distraction, burnout, and perfectionism? Well, as it relates to procrastination, book recommendation, the middle 3 chapters out of 9 of my book are all about how to deal with procrastination. So if you haven't read that yet, you might like to. There's like a bunch of different tools and strategies in that. We are also going to be talking about the activation menu, which is coming up in just a moment. That's going to help us deal with procrastination. Logging our focused hours, which we're also going to talk about in this session, will help us deal with procrastination. What about distraction? Well, Indistractable by Nir Eyal is basically a book about how to deal with distraction. Creating a capture method, which we're also going to talk about in this session, will help us deal with distraction. And creating a reactivation menu, which we're also going to talk about coming up, is going to help us deal with distraction. I'm basically just giving you a little bit of a signposting as to what we're going to be talking about in this session, so that you know where all the stuff fits in. And actually, our focus log is also going to help us deal with distraction. The final 3 chapters of Feel Good Productivity are all about burnout, the 3 different types of burnout: overexertion, depletion, and misalignment burnout. The book Rest by Alex Sujung Kim Pang also talks about this a lot. And we're going to be giving you the recharge menu, or encouraging you to make your own recharge menu later in the session. And then the 5th chapter of Feel Good Productivity sort of is about perfectionism, but accountability systems like Productivity Lab or like having your own accountability buddies or whatever can help with this. And actually logging your focus hours also really helps with perfectionism. So here are some of these are book recommendations. Some of these are tools that we are going to cover. Yeah, it's either book recommendations or tools that we're about to cover in the session.